Hi, I wanted to do a quick video on what it was like to do the Camino de Santiago during the height of COVID, or actually even before, as COVID was hitting in Europe. Um, yeah, the intro to COVID as it was ascending on its way to cause chaos for a little bit in people's lives. Um, okay, so I was living in Europe at the time, in Germany, and I had decided to do the Camino because I was going through a breakup with my ex, and I needed some time to think, and I wanted to walk and think about things, process the end of that chapter in my life. So I decided about 2 weeks before I left that I was going to do this. There wasn't really much thought about COVID at the time. I think I had heard a couple of things, but it was nothing really like on people's minds. It wasn't on my mind when I was planning to go. But anyway, a couple of days before I left for the trip, I saw an article saying that one of the albergues, which is the places where you stay along the way when you're a pilgrim, had closed because of COVID, and I thought that was interesting. And I remember thinking in my mind, like, I wonder if this is going to be a thing. I had asked my ex at the time too. We were still communicating. Do you think this is going to be a problem? And he was saying, no, I don't think it's a big deal. Just, it should be fine. Anyway, I also decided to ignore it or just hope for the best. And I continued on my way. Took the flight to Porto. I was starting in Porto and was going to walk from Porto, to Spain, to Santiago de Compostela. And I never made it because I started out, this is my pilgrim passport with the stamps that never finished in Compostela. But I had my first stamp from March 9th, 2020, and my last stamp was on the 14th of March, 2020. And so that was, what, like 5 days on the road? Yeah, I walked really slowly, by the way, so don't judge me, I don't know. Went from Porto to the border of Spain. That was the day on the 14th that I got to the border of Spain and had heard that it was closing either the next day or like in a couple of days. And I was just weighing in my mind, is this a good idea right now to enter into this country when I don't know what's going to happen? Am I going to be allowed to leave? What if there's like a long time that I'm not able to leave this country? I don't live in Spain. I don't have any of my stuff. I don't know how long it's going to be. So I reached to the border of Spain. There's a bridge that connects Portugal to Spain. And just looked at it, contemplated for a few minutes, left a rock on the bridge, and then made my way back to Porto. I took a train back to Porto, and I remember the person on the train who collects the fare didn't even accept my fare because I was trying to pay cash, and he didn't want to handle any money at the time. So it was becoming like a real thing now. And along the way, there were fewer and fewer pilgrims on the road. When I started, it seemed like everything was normal. I remember one day there was a group of travelers from Venice, and COVID was hitting Italy pretty hard, and I remember something about Venice, and then I found out that news the next day, and I was like, oh god, I just stayed in a room with a bunch of people from there. Like, I hope I didn't catch anything or whatever. But as I was walking, the first few days, like, COVID started to come up more and more. In the beginning, nothing. The first couple of days, nothing, and then it started to like slowly come up in conversation more and more, and I started to worry. I remember even like crying one day with like some other travelers that I was walking with, and they were trying to calm me down, like saying like, no, it's fine. It's just people are just like getting worked up about it. Just continue on your way. And I was freaking out, but I just continued to put those worries aside and just go as far as I could for as long as I could. So I went on my way separately, and shortly enough, in the next couple of days, like things started closing like very rapidly. Like one of the albergues I tried to stay at was no longer accepting pilgrims, or they had a max 2 pilgrims in the room. So, and there was one other person, so I was the only other person there, and just things were shutting down. Like people were, I don't know, becoming more um, just like worried about it. I remember feeling like a leper walking on the Camino because I had my backpack, so it was like obvious that I was like a pilgrim doing this Camino on this path that people know, the locals know, travelers go on. And I remember people just like walking past and like putting up their like jackets to cover their nose so that they wouldn't like breathe the same air. I felt like a leper. And it was getting harder and harder to continue my travels, and it was just becoming like unnecessarily difficult. Like, this is not the point of this experience. I was just trying to walk and process some stuff, and that was not the experience I was planning to have. But anyway, that's how it went. And yeah, those people that were telling me not to freak out, they I was texting them, and like they had quit and gone back home to their countries, like even before I had gone back. And I was saying to them like, oh my god, I thought you guys were still walking. And they had all either stopped or had already gone back home. And this was all in the span of like 5 days or something. So it like escalated really quickly. But it was still an interesting experience. When I got back to Porto, I was trying to figure out what to do. I was trying to head back to Germany, um, and then eventually back home to the US. But I stayed in the albergue where I had started in Porto, and even the people there were like, "Oh, it's not a big deal. Like, we're still getting pilgrims." And I was thinking, like, am I over exaggerating, or like, what, I can't, like, the pieces aren't adding up. People are freaking out, but some people are not. Um, and But by the next morning, they decided to close the albergue and weren't accepting new pilgrims anymore. So, but I eventually, I was trying to book my flight back to Germany, but it got canceled like 3 times. Um, so it was an interesting experience though, because I kind of became part of the albergue there, and like became one of the people like helping to clean the albergue, and just like part of the staff there, like going to the grocery store, making meals together. And it was an unexpected but really nice experience to stay in that way in albergue. Um, but yeah, that was my COVID experience of the Camino. And yeah, I got back to Germany finally, and then got the last nonstop flight back to New York with my cat, and that was the beginning of COVID in New York as well. Um, but yeah, I hope to one day finish the Camino, and these were all the stamps that I got. I did not get the final stamp, obviously, but one day I hope to go back and finish it, or to redo, probably start again from another city, or maybe from Porto again, and just relive that experience. Hopefully no big, crazy, unprecedented things happen along the way, and I can actually get to Santiago this time. But anyway, I just wanted to share that experience because it was like a time like no other. So if you're planning to do the Camino, I hope you have a beautiful time, and that you get to reach Santiago de Compostela, and you have a one Camino. All right, take care.